Hey everybody, it's Joe, Redneck Collector, coming at you with another video. This is my post-national video, and honest to goodness, I shot this video last night, or I shot a video last night, and I really tried to keep it short, and I focused, I feel like, too much on the cards, not enough on the people, and to be honest with you, it was way more about the people this past week at the National than it was even about the cards. Got some great cards too, but I'm gonna reshoot it, and I never do that. But I just didn't like it. I didn't like where it went, so here we are. And I'm gonna do this, and I'm just gonna take my time with it, and it might be a little bit longer video, and I apologize. And feel free to fast forward to the cards. I don't care, but I'm gonna intermingle the things, tell the story about what happened at the National, show some cards, but I'm gonna talk a little bit more about the people. I was a little worried that I might talk about some people and not everybody else, but you know what? I'm just gonna talk about, the week. So there you have it. There's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So last week we headed up on Wednesday. I went with some good buddies of mine from the St. Louis area. My buddy Brian, who I went to the National with last year, also went this year with John and Dan and Glenn for my vintage group in St. Louis. We all rented a Airbnb in Chicago, about 20 minutes away from the convention center. Really wasn't too bad. Traffic was really only bad right when you got down to the convention center and tried to get parked. But it wasn't the end of the world. But that being said, probably next year we may look at getting a hotel. I would recommend, if you can get a hotel closer to walking distance, would probably be just more convenient and less time spent in a car, plus $15 a day for parking. But we headed up Wednesday. We got there. Did not have VIP passes. Brian and I didn't. Three of the guys did. They got in. We didn't do VIP, and honestly, we still got in every day. We didn't have to wait in that long line. If you know what you're doing, there was other ways to get in there that weren't really cheating. It was just taking a different route to the show floor, and we just did that every day. So there are ways to get around that big line, just so you know. But Wednesday we get there, get in the show. Wednesday was awesome because it was low key, right? We get in there. I ran in, we ran into different people, had a chance to talk, through the week, tons of people that I got to talk to, but I got to give some shout outs here on the front side so I don't forget. Got to spend some time talking to Doug, Joe Wood Collector, Bruce over at Diamond Gems 45, really spent a lot of time with him. My man Tony Talks Cards, we got to hang out. Doug, Video Guy 316, got to meet tons of other people. Dan's Vintage Baseball PC, and John 3D80's kid, and Theo, and all these people that I hadn't met in person. Was really cool. Tony, Southern Collector 14, got to meet him. That first day, though, it was pretty cool. We walk in, and it was like you could talk, right? It wasn't crazy yet. And walked over to Ash's table, and I hear, hey, this guy wants to fight me, and it's Greg, Midlife Cards. We had a joke going about how I wanted to fight him. So I got to meet Greg in person, get to spend a little bit of time talking to him, got to watch him buy his Red Cobb. Man, he was all wound up about that. Great card. It was really, really cool. Got to talk to John Mangini. Actually got to spend quite a bit of time with John too, and really kind of talk with him and connect with him a little bit. That was really, really cool. Several different times, hooked up there with John and walked this show floor and things of that nature. It was really cool. Got to meet Orlando in person finally. Mike Junk Wax Hero. John over at, John Wade Boggs fan. I got one of his cards. Very, very cool. Love these custom cards. His with the 83 homage to Wade Boggs. So that was really awesome. When I ran into Dan, so very nice of Dan, Vintage Baseball PC. He had this, he knows I like Ducky Medwick. So I had this really cool, like 2007 Upper Deck SP Joe Ducky Medwick. Just a really pretty card. Very, very nice of them. My man, Tony Talks Cards. He's always, got something cool for me. Some cool Cardinal cards here. We got all-time greats, Lou Brock. All-time greats, Kurt Flood. Love it, just awesome. Did not have any of these cards. Look at the image on this 1960. This is a super sharp centered Hal Smith. Just a beautiful card. Love the catching pose, the 1960s, or in this case, maybe 1950s catching gear. And then an Allen and Ginter, Lou Brock. So some really cool gifts there. So that Wednesday was just really neat. Got to, it was a little bit more of an intimate setting, and got to chat a little bit before the chaos kicked off. But I didn't buy much that day. A lot of my other buddies, they were making these deals. I went around, I was looking for my 49 Bowman Larry Doby, my 49 Ted Williams Leaf. One of those two was kind of my big one. And I was super kind of fixated on those two cards. And I think next year I'm going to be a little bit more open, because I did miss out on a couple cards, and I'll probably talk about that here in a few. Maybe not missed, definitely one I missed out on. The other one I was okay with, kind of let fates decide. But that first day, really didn't see anything big, and I was afraid to spend too much money on little things because I didn't want to take myself out of the running on something bigger. But I did come across the table, something caught my eye, and it was this right here, this 36 Gaudy wide pins Joe Ducky Medwick again. And I had got beaten out by Jason, Everyday Card Collector. Shout out to Jason. See, I forgot. Got to finally meet that guy in person. Was very, very cool. While I'm thinking about others, Keith, Lonely Basement, we got to run around a little bit together. Really enjoyed chatting with you and talking with you. See, I'm going to interject names more as I go through this, as I think about just all these great people. But I bought this, or I saw this, asked to look at it, and underneath it, look at that, Mickey Cochran. Same thing, 36 Gaudy. These had $25 a piece on them. I offered him 40. He took 45. These are really cool. I did not have any Mickey Cochran at all in my collection. And I just think these Gaudys are really, really cool. So that was my big pickup on Wednesday. I spent 45 bucks. Everybody was like, I picked this up and I picked this up. And I'm like, I spent $45. But I was happy because I was having the time of my life, looking at cards, hooking up with great people that I'd never got to meet before, and chatting with them, and just really enjoying life. And Wednesday, that evening, we went over to the Lowe's. The Misfits had their get together, so I got to see John again, and Dan, and all the guys from the Misfits crew, and so many more collectors showed up. Got to meet Hughes over at is it ET_Card Collections. Hughes was there. Really enjoyed chatting with him. Just so many great collectors and having fun, and that's where Keith and I, Lonely Basement, we talked. We've got a lot of in common with what we do for a living, so we just had a good night chatting, and we called it kind of an early night. We didn't close the place down because we were tired. We wanted to get up to had about a 20-minute ride to our Airbnb, so we did that. Got there, went to sleep, got up, fairly early Thursday, and hit the show, and I'm on the hunt then. I'm on the hunt, and I'm looking for, what I want. I'm looking for this 49 Larry Doby Bowman, or the 49 Ted Williams. And here's what I saw: I saw a lot of higher end copies that I couldn't afford. And on the Ted Williams, like one lower end copy that was in my price range, but not really what I was looking for, eye appeal. So, but Thursday, I'm just, I'm pretty wound up. Just like, I was like, man, I need to make this happen. And it just wasn't finding those. And at that point, by the end of the day, Thursday, I'd been around and I'd saw maybe not every table, but I had been to every, nook and cranny of the show floor, and maybe missed a few tables. I'm never going to say that there may be some tables that I missed, but I stopped and I did look at one dealer had a 39 play ball that I was really interested in, and it was in a 1. And I had on my list, I talk about my list, but I had a couple additions to that. And one of them was this player in a 39 play ball. And this guy had it in a 1, and I brought a little bit of trade, but he wasn't really interested in it. And he wanted $3,500 for this 1. It was nice, but just wasn't going to happen. So I go and I walk around. And I'm thinking, it wasn't meant to be. That was my pie in the sky. I had it under pie in the sky in my notes to pick up this player. Well, I get towards the end of the day, and sure enough, I find another copy. And this guy was interested in some of my trade. And I was able to take one of my, if you haven't seen the episode with the Ty Cobb Mecha double folders that I scored kind of a buy one, get one free on. So I had 2 of them. They both graded a 1. I kept the better copy. So I didn't have any money in it. I asked for $600 trade, and he gave me the $600 trade. And I was able to bring home, like, for me, a card that I didn't think I'd ever own. Definitely teenage Joe never thought I'd own this. It's an authentic altered, but it's got beautiful eye appeal, and it's the 39 play ball Ted Williams rookie card. And it's altered because it was pasted or taped in an album, and it, you can see some residue. It took some paper. There's actually a little mark right there where like somebody drew, almost like traced one of the folds in his uniform, but it really didn't bother me. The overall image was great. The centering wasn't terrible. And I'm just happy to have this card. This is not a card that I thought I'd come home with. That's why I had listed it under Pie in the Sky. Love the write-up on the back talking about a young Ted Williams. So now I have a Ted Williams rookie card in my collection, and I'm just ecstatic. He's a player that I wanted to add more of this year. I had added the 41 play ball. Just recently I got it graded. In my last video I showed that. Now I got to get the 40 play ball and a whole lot more. Still got to get that 49 leaf. But that really made my day Thursday. I really felt like, oh my God, I scored just an awesome, card for my collection. I set out what I wanted to do is not buy a bunch of smaller cards, but I wanted to make a bigger splash. And that's exactly what I did Thursday. So, Thursday, we leave the show. We head across a little early for the YouTube get-together. I'm sure you all have heard about this. At this point, you've heard everything about it. We got over there early, so we still got about 45 minutes, and I got to chat Steve, Vintage on Vintage. There's another one I got to chat with Steve for a little bit, and Picker Jim, and it was really cool. So we did get some time there. Bruce, Diamond Gems joined us there, and Tony and all my buddies, and I saw Jason, and so I got a good 45 minutes. It wasn't the 4 hours that I was hoping for, but we got some time. And Doug, Video Guy 316, and his son were all around having a good time, and that's when it all came crashing down. The National, the hotel, however it went down, they asked us to leave. Well, we decided not to follow the herd because we really didn't know how that was going to work out. We thought, well, if these 200 people got kicked out of here, they're going to get kicked out of somewhere else probably too. So we made the decision. Myself, my buddy Brian, Tony Tuck's Cards jumped in the truck with us, and we met Doug, Video Guy 316, and his son at a Portillo's nearby. And there wasn't very many people in there. And if you've never had Portillo's, it's a Chicago fixture, Italian beef sandwiches, hot dogs, whatnot. So we go in there and we had a great meal. And I don't know if we were there for 2 or 3 hours. I really don't know. Just talking about the hobby and what we bought. And it was just a great time. And while it wasn't as big of a gathering, it was still a gathering of YouTube people. And it was really special to me. And I really, really appreciated that we got that. So we stayed there a little bit later and we went our separate ways. Brian and I got back to the house, and John and Dan and Glenn are there, and we stayed up, I don't know how late, talking cards, like a bunch of kids. And that was what was cool about our Airbnb, is we were staying up every night late, talking cards, and getting up every morning and talking cards, and it was just so much fun to be immersed in that. So Friday, we wake up, we head to the show. I still got a chunk of change in my pocket. And I had been, the show goes by, I get to spend some time walking around. It was a blast. Friday was really just another day of me really trying to search for something. But any chance I got to hang out and watch, I got to watch, some really cool deals go down. Got to walk around and just see the sights and spend some time. I think that was another day that myself and I think it was a day John Mangini, myself, Dan's Vintage Baseball PC in Orlando went over to the dealer that had a lot of the Cuban cards and really rare stuff, and just had a blast. Well, towards the end of the show, I made up my mind. I was like, I'm gonna pull the trigger on this card, and I was a couple $100 short on my person. I had PayPal, but this dealer had cash only, so I send a text, hey, who can front me a couple $100? Immediately, Brian says, I got you. He comes over to me, and in the meantime, I just kind of waited on him. It's my mistake. I should have went to the dealer, because this dealer had a 38 Gaudy Bob Feller Big Head. Whoever got this card, you scored a deal. I knew I should have bought it. It was in a 1, but the front was beautiful. It was centered. It was beautiful for a 1. The back had damage to it, but they had a really good price on it, and I had made up the mind to sell it, and I swear to God, I've never seen this happen at a show before, but as Brian and I make our way over there, there's a guy at the counter with the card in hand and cash, and he's exchanging it, and he's buying it right there in front of me. It was the most heart-wrenching. I mean, I was literally beside myself. I was damn near emotional about the whole situation because I was so mad at myself. If I'd have just went over there and said, hey, can I look at the card? My buddy's coming with money. I could Monday morning quarterback this till the cows come home. But I lost the deal. Lesson to be learned there. Learn from my mistake that, I looked at that card on, I don't know if I saw it first Wednesday evening or Thursday morning, but it had been in the back of my mind. I knew it was one of the cards I should have pulled the trigger on. There was another card that was on my mind. It got sold while I wasn't there. So it didn't hurt me as bad. I still thought, I missed out on it. But to walk up and see this other Target card getting sold while you're there is just so learn from my mistake. That's the moral of the story. pull the trigger, pull the trigger. So I'm pretty beside myself. I mean, I am. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm depressed. But the show is getting ready to close. We're leaving, and we're headed over to the PSA set registry dinner, which was at Joe's Live, which was just up from the convention center. I realize not everybody loves PSA. I get it. I don't have some great PSA set registry. Why we get invited to this, I'll never know. But we get invited. We went last year. It was appetizers and, it was a cash bar, but you could get, soft drinks and water and everything free. Appetizers, a spread for food. Like, it was a buffet style, but it was a really nice buffet. Really nice venue, really nice time, and it's free, so why would you not go? Plus, we got some cool giveaways, and so we go, we get in, we wait in line, we get through there, and we eat, and out comes the MC, turns out to be Scott Hansen of NFL Live, so that was really cool. He comes out, they give out 11 different awards for different sets in the PSA set registry, and got to see some sets that were in the registry that are worth just millions of dollars. Just crazy stuff. So that was really cool. And then they go to bring out the keynote, if you will. They pass out PSA boxes. I don't have one, but the little PSA box. And they say, don't open it yet. And it was very similar to what we had last year at the PSA set registry dinner. And I knew that there'd be a card in there, and whoever that card was would be the keynote speaker if it was just like last year. So they tell us not to open it. There were some free packs in there too, junk wax packs, and they're telling the story, all this stuff. And we're waiting for them say, oh, go ahead and open them. Well, the PSA guy comes by, everybody get a box. And I'm like, yeah, but we'll take another one. So some of us got an extra box. And finally we get to go ahead to open it. And before that, they said there was 500 of these boxes given out that night. I guess there was 500 attendees or whatever. 25 of them would be autographs. So 25 people were going to be lucky enough to get an auto slabbed of this player, which was really, really cool. And we open it up, and here we got, look at that, Jerry Rice. It's hand numbered, 2025 PSA set registry dinner. Now, it's not signed. It's 336 of 500 though, hand numbered. Special flip on it. Really pretty cool, right? To have this Jerry Rice code. So we know it's Jerry Rice. So I open, that's my first box. And that slab in there was raw. It did not have this little sleeve, the graded slab sleeve on it. I open my second box, and I see a slab sleeve on it. So I knew it was coming. Look at that. 95 SP Upper Deck, Jerry Rice, inscribed number 80, gold Sharpie, the whole 9 yards. Numbered out of 25, I guess, if what they told us is true. It's got the special commemorative flip. And I was on cloud 9. This helped really make up for my Bob Feller mistake, being able to bring this awesome card home for my collection. And we opened some packs, and I thought that if we opened a pack and pulled a Jerry Rice card, he was going to sign it, because that's what happened last year with Dominic Wilkins. Well, this year, if you pulled a Jerry Rice card, you got a photo op. Well, only one of us at the table got the photo op, which was still cool. Glenn, huge football fan, he gets to go up there, get a picture with Jerry, shake his hand, whole 9 yards. It was really, really cool. So that just was an awesome, night. It was a great ending to kind of a lousy second half of the day. But I'm on cloud 9. We go home that night, and we stay up like giddy little schoolgirls, chatting about cards again. Stay up late, knowing the next day is our last day at the show. And so we get up, we head to the show. Same drill as before. I still got a chunk of change. I'm disappointed because, I had some cards. I still had some other candidates, though. I'd been over that place. I don't know how many, walking 15,000 steps a day. I'd seen that I had some candidates. So I'm going back, and I'm kind of, mulling them over, trying to decide what I want. And about that time, I was over by the Zion booth, and I get a nudge on the shoulder, and there's the president himself, Mr. Mangini. So we hook up, start chatting again, and I tell him, hey, I'm down to kind of these two cards. And he's like, well, let's go get one. I said, all right, I want you to come look at it with me. So take him over. We go to Stan Locke's booth, and I'm telling him about this card. And I said, he's a little high compared to comps, but it's a rare card, and I love this copy. So we go over and we look at it, and he's like, man, what are you thinking? You know how John is, if you've watched these videos, he's like, what are you thinking? This is a great card. He broke out the same thing he broke out on Eric Fourleaf. He said, it's only money. You'll have more in 2 weeks. And so I was like, yeah, maybe I will. And I get Stan's attention, and we start kind of dealing. And I just said, hey, no, this is a rare card. This is proof that just respectful negotiation goes a long way. And I said, I know this is a fairly rare card, but the last one sold in January was, X amount of dollars. how close to this X amount of dollars can you get? He immediately hit back with a fairly reasonable amount. I came back at him just a little bit lower than that. He reached out and shook my hand. Deal was done. Stan, can't say enough good things about Stan. Really easy to deal with, very pleasant individual. And here's the card that I brought home from Stan's booth. How about this? 1922 E120 Caramel of Rogers Hornsby. I wanted a playing days Hornsby. I wanted it with my Cardinals. If you've seen other copies of this, sometimes they're very, very off-centered. This is a PSA 2 with a mark. There's your mark. I can live with that little caramel stain or whatever you want to call it. I can still read everything else on the back, with the lineup. Just an absolute stunning card that is over 100 years old. I love the image on it. I love the ornate design. I know the image is used in other cards. I really particularly like this one because of that ornate design. I love that it says Cardinals and not Cubs. It's a PSA 2 MK. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm on cloud nine. It was cool because I was there, getting to buy it. Keith Lonely Basement was around at that time too. And so, at that point, I'm all but tapped out, right? Those are two really big cards. At the last National, 2024, I only bought 5 cards. That represented my 4th card that I bought. So I thought, wow, I guess maybe next year I only buy 3 cards. But I had a little change rolling around in my pocket. Ended up catching up with Bruce over at Diamond Gems 45 again. We'd been talking with him and Mangini, and he'd been in the group, and I was like, hey, I'm going to go. Him and I decided to break off. I go back over to Zion. I pick up a Zion case. I don't know how y'all feel about those, but I think they're really good for storage. Got a 4-row. Then we went back out and started chatting again and just kind of killing time. The rest of my group came over. Bruce got to meet them, spend some time with them, and we just had a good time chatting, waiting for trade night to open up. We had gotten our wristbands ready to go up. Trade night kicks off. Still a pretty good line, even if you had wristbands. So we're all kind of chatting, and a lot of us are in line. Keith's around, and Bruce is around, and my buddies, and it just great time, right? Just conversation. You're in a line that's kind of, it's taking a while, but you're just around people that you feel like have been your friends for years. And we wind our way through the line. We get up to trade night, and trade night is popping, right? It's vintage and modern all in one room. So it's loud, but we had our own little corner, and the guys at 4 Collectors killed the setup and everything. They had everything set up. It was great. Giving away door prizes. We had free packs of cards and all kinds of little goodie bag. And I got my vintage trade night shirt. Thanks, Theo, for having one of those set aside for me. So we're up there. I get to sit down next to a really cool collector named Wayne, who has a ton of Venezuelan and hard to find issues, also some Asian issues that are really hard to find. Sammy talks about it because he's bought a card from Wayne before, and he bought the 77 Topps Venezuelan while he was there. So it's really cool to see Wayne. He had some really cool stuff, chatting with him. Cool to meet somebody that was new to me in the hobby. We started following each other on IG. Bruce sat down. Bruce had these killer cookies that he was giving out to everybody, so we all had these awesome cookies. I had taken some cards with me to sell. My buddy John wasn't going, but I was selling a few, so I sold a few cards for him, and just, things are popping. It's really cool. Tony Talks Cards is back up there. It's funny, at one point, Tony said, hey, Joe, I found this. It's a Rawlings Stam usually you don't have. You want to go see it? I can take you to it. I said, yeah, let's go. I want to see him. And he drags me, and we're in the big room, right? He drags me all across the room. I'm in Chicago, and he drags me to a table he's a young man. His name's Carson. He's an impressive young man in the vintage hobby. He has a lot of high-end stuff. And I'm like, hey, I know you. I said, we've met before. He said, oh, yeah. I said, you're Carson, right? Yeah. So it's funny. Come all the way up here to see a guy that goes to the shows in St. Louis and Columbia. But he had that Rawlings. I didn't make a deal on the Rawlings because it was a little out of my budget for what I had left. But still, it was really cool. And just got to talk with, other collectors of hobby. I got to meet Eddie from Eddie's Cardboard Chaos. Got one of his cards. Check out that awesome King Griffey Jr. Original artwork by Eddie with the needle and everything. Signature. Just really, really well done, man. John, Wade Boggs fan, had a really good one. Eddie's got one. And I got to meet Dean from West 238th Street, or is it Goodman and 238th? It's hard to keep up with, but you all know who Dean is. And Dean gives me one of his custom Retorados. Look how, just such, just an A+ for originality, if you ask me, and the cards in his hands. And he told me that he even stained these with tea to make them look more vintage. In fact, Wayne, who I mentioned is next to me, who has got Retrorados out for sale, that knows his stuff, he double takes. He goes, "Oh, which Retorado is that?" He thought it was an honest to goodness Retorado. So I mentioned it. Dean came back around. I mentioned it. I think Dean ended up giving Wayne a copy of it because it was just so well done. And getting to meet those guys, I got to talk to Darren, Dean's brother. Everybody else says that, Dean is Darren's brother. I think that Darren is Dean's brother, just so you know. But they're both great guys. They were there with their dad. Got to chat with them and just having this great time at trade night. It's the hustle and bustle, but also stealing away some moments to chat with collectors again. And if I forgot anybody, please don't hang me. I enjoyed every conversation I had. So trust me on that. So I end up bopping around a little bit more trade night, and I hear, "Hey, they'll let anybody in here." And I look, and it's Tony, Southern Collector, and he's got his spread out. What do you got for sale, Tony? And Tony's like one of those guys you just feel like I've known Tony forever. I feel like that about a lot of these guys, but Tony and I think connect. We started out around the same time with our channels. We followed each other on IG before then, so love Tony to death. See stuff on the table there, and I'm like, "Oh man, how much you got on that card?" And I said, "Oh, it's the one card. I think it was the one raw card he had." And he goes, "That's the one I didn't price." And he throws out a price, and I'm like, I'm kind of flying blind here. And I don't know if he took it as I thought the price was bad. I actually thought maybe he was undercharging me. So Tony, if you watch this, that's why I was like, I don't want to take advantage of, do we need to look up comps? So he kind of looked it up, still gave me a great price. I felt like it was more than fair. I mean, he stuck to that same price, and it was a really good price. And I just couldn't say no to this. It's a beautiful card. Look at this, a 1910 Sporting Life Charles Chief Bender. Look at that blue. I mean, just the white borders. I just love it. The back is amazing. And I love Chief Bender's story. I know Tony does too. And I've got his T206 portrait. I felt like this really fit in well with it. So this is my 5th card. So Tony helped me get to my 5. That's, I guess, my new standard. I don't know how many I brought home the year before, but it's 5 the last 2 years at the Nationals. So it kind of closed out my night pretty well, put me to the point where I was like, okay, I got a few dollars left, but I don't need to spend everything. And we stayed, but we ended up kind of sneaking out. Didn't get a chance to sell everybody by. I think Brian was tired. He was doing all the driving. I was getting kind of tired too. A lot of stimulation, just, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, just stimulation cards overload. So we were ready to get out of there because we were getting up early Sunday morning. We were coming home. Yeah, we were coming home like late, not getting much sleep. And that was kind of the end of it. We all kind of went back and spoke for a little bit at the house, but got in bed, and just that was the end to just a great week. I know I've went 28 minutes here, and I've showed some cards. If you had to fast forward, get to the cards, that's fine. But I wanted to talk about the people because that was what made it special for me. The people I went with made it extra special for me. The people that I got to connect with more personally, that I hadn't got to meet in person, that we had, got to know each other through this YouTube thing of ours, but made it all the much cooler. It made me think I've got to try to make it to Strongsville next year. Hopefully in between now and then maybe I'll get to see a few of these guys at a regional show, but it was just a fantastic time. I don't know what else to say. I don't know. I could go on and on about this. I could talk more about the show, and I think myself, Tony Talks Cards, are going to be on Josh, Vintage Card Wonderland's channel, and we're going to do kind of another recap, and we may talk a little bit. We'll talk about our cards, but we may talk more about the ins and outs of the National. I did not take footage of the National. There's so many other people that did that better than me, that just, I wanted to be immersed in it. It's not necessarily my thing, and I knew other people were going to do it better. So this was my experience, and had a blast. So I appreciate everybody who has watched, liked, subscribed, all that stuff. That's great. I really do appreciate it. And I hope that at some point I get to meet even more and more of you in person, because it really is all about the people. The cards are secondary. I appreciate you all. And remember, let's keep it a little redneck out there.